Intelligence community
who take risks each day to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
So they can't defend themselves with this because it's indefensible. And I want to bring in now former National Security Advisor to President Trump, General Michael Flynn, is on with us tonight. General, it's always good to see you.
Great to see you, Grant. Really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming on, General. And I have to get you a response. Look, President Trump used some very harsh words here. Do I think he actually wants to hang these people? No. But I do think that what they're asking you to do is seditious behavior, General.
Yeah, I mean, you know, first of all, and Chris Smith, Senator Chris Smith from Connecticut, if anybody wants to go see what, you know, just how crazy these people are, go look at his response as well. It's unbelievable. But first of all of these people served in some capacity in the military, or that one officer, the one member there served in the CIA. This actually seemed to me, when I first saw it, it was less about the military, Grant, than it was about the intel community. And I think that there's an element here inside the intelligence community, and Tulsi Gabbard has been a terrific, and in fact, one of the reasons why the head of the National Security Agency and the deputy National Security Agency director were fired about 4 or 5 months ago, because inside of these organizations, inside of these big agencies, you know, and I always remind people that 70% of the intelligence community is inside of the Department of War, that she got rid of them because of subversion inside of the National Security Agency to the tune of about 1,000 people. So we know that inside the CIA, it's the same thing inside of some of these other, you know, National Geospatial Agency, never mind just inside of some of the different military. But if any of these people that did serve in the military, you know, and the ones that spoke out in Congress, if any of them are still holding a commission, they should be told that they have to resign their commission, and they ought to be brought up on charges. I mean, this was so bad. You know, people in the military know you don't have to follow an illegal, an immoral, or an unethical order. We know that. We know that from the very beginning, whether you're a private or whether you're a lieutenant, you're taught that at the very beginning. So everybody knows that. These people are actually calling for subversion and frankly, treason or sedition inside of our military.
General, let me go back to what you said about you think they were really targeting the intel community. Nobody knows the intel community better than General Michael Flynn does. What do you think their goal was? What are they concerned? Who are they actually talking to inside this community? Are they trying to change behavior of some kind?
Yeah, this is important, Grant. This is really important here, folks, because there are elements inside of the administration, inside of the executive branch of the administration, principally in the United States intelligence community, and I know this factually because we've caught a bunch of them and we've got whistleblowers out on some of them. But this is the intelligence community. That's why it was interesting when we heard the members, and then all of a sudden the one popped up who was a former CIA officer, and it made me wonder. I was like, what the hell? You know, okay, so they're former members of the military, they're griping about whatever, and they actually are really hurting our military more than they know, believe me, because there's people in the military that are still under the wokeism of the last administration. But when I saw the former CIA officer, I was like, this is interesting. So now I know that inside of the U.S. intelligence community, and Tulsi Gabbard has her hands full, believe me, she's doing all that she can. And she's still in the midst. Her and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth are both. They are the ones responsible for basically running the largest part of the intelligence community. You know, the FBI has a segment of it. Department of State has a segment of it. But the biggest chunk is the Department of War, and of course then the CIA. So this is really where this is coming from, and it's the CIA that to me. And I'm right on the record here, buddy. The CIA and elements in the U.S. intelligence community are still undermining this administration in a big way. I don't think that the President of the United States is getting fully informed as to what is actually going on around the world and right here at home. He's got great people at the leadership level that can inform him, but if they're not being informed by the at the right level and with the right information and asking the right questions, then we're in trouble here. But these elements, these people that came out and said these things, this is clearly, this is a sort of parroting of what it is that the left wants to, sort of propagandize across the American society here. And to me, this is a big problem because these are not a couple of representatives. This is like across the board inside of the left in Congress, and clearly those that are still serving inside of our executive branch of this government, particularly inside of the U.S. intelligence community.
Yeah, it's interesting when you bring up this connection. It almost reminds me of the 51 Spies letter that tried to debunk the Hunter Biden laptop, right? They get a whole bunch of people and they spew this nonsense and they get the media to try to pick up on it. This is almost the same operation, only it's on video, not a letter. Last word, General. Yeah,
no, I do think that there's a connection here. I don't think that this is universal in our military troop, our troops, right? There's a lot of good men and women serving in our military. I have a really bad feeling, and the only reason I have it, and it's just total gut at this point, was when that congresswoman from the CIA, former CIA, is like, what is going on here? This is not the Department of War and infantrymen and men and women serving at the brass tacks level of our military. This is something different, and I actually think that this is coming out of the U.S. intelligence community, and to me, this is where Tulsi Gabbard really has her hands full, because I think she's doing all that she can, but she's being undermined. Trust me.
Well, I know for a fact that people are listening to you and your assessment of all of this. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you coming on the program, as always, General. And it's good to see you, my friend. Thank you.
Absolutely, Grant. Thank you.
Absolutely. Fascinating stuff when you think about what he's talking about there, that the president may not be getting the information he needs to make national security decisions. It doesn't get any more dangerous than that. And then you look at the connection that could these congressmen, members of Congress, be connected to a subversion inside the intelligence community, not just the intel community. When you talk about sedition, I don't know how else to describe it. President Trump is spot on.